Welcome to this video tutorial on debugging JSPs. By the end of this video, you'll feel confident in identifying and resolving issues in your JSP applications. JSP, or Java Server Pages, is a technology that helps developers create dynamic web content. However, like any technology, it's not immune to bugs and errors. Let's start by understanding common types of errors you might encounter. Errors in JSP can generally be categorized into three main types: syntax errors, runtime exceptions, and logical errors. First, let's talk about syntax errors. These occur when the JSP code does not conform to the language's syntax rules. For example, if you forget a closing tag in an HTML element, this kind of error can usually be caught at compile time. When you build your application, the JSP compiler will notify you of any syntax issues. Make sure to check the server console for error messages. Now let's move on to runtime exceptions. These errors occur while the JSP page is executing, such as when you try to access a null object. Let's look at an example. In this example, we attempt to call to uppercase on a null string, causing a null pointer exception. This will stop your JSP execution and present an error page. To debug this, we can use try-catch blocks. Let's update our code with a simple exception handling. Now, instead of throwing an exception, we gracefully handle the error by displaying a message. This is a good practice to enhance user experience. Lastly, let's discuss logical errors. These are the hardest to catch since they don't throw any exceptions or halt execution. They simply produce incorrect output. For example, let's say we intended to sum two numbers but accidentally subtracted them. In this case, the output will be incorrect, returning -5 instead of 15. Debugging logical errors often requires thorough testing and review of your code. Next, let's explore some debugging techniques for JSP. One of the simplest ways to debug JSP code is to use the Java debugging features available in IDEs. Most IDEs, such as IntelliJ IDEA or Eclipse, support setting breakpoints in Java code. Place breakpoints in any Java logic used within your JSP. Once you have breakpoints set, you can run the server in debug mode. This will pause execution at each breakpoint, allowing you to inspect variable values and the flow of execution. Let's briefly demonstrate setting a breakpoint in Eclipse. In your Java class file, simply double-click in the margin next to the line number where you'd like to set the breakpoint, and a blue dot will appear. You can then start your application in debug mode. When execution reaches that line, Eclipse will open the debug perspective, enabling you to watch variable states, step through your code line by line, and get additional context. If you're not using an IDE, you can still debug by inserting expressions for debugging into your JSP. Use the out.println method to print out variable values. This method is a straightforward approach, but be cautious, as it can clutter your JSP with debug messages and may expose sensitive information. Another powerful tool is logging. Java provides a logging framework through the java.util.logging package and allows for better control over debugging output. You can integrate logging into your JSP using JSDL or scriptlets. This allows you to keep track of various application states and any exceptions that may occur during execution. Moreover, consider using third-party libraries like Apache Log4j or SLF4j for more advanced logging capabilities. They offer more flexibility and features for production use. Now, let's look at how to use a tag library effectively for debugging. JSDL, the Java Server Pages standard tag library, can simplify error handling. Using JSDL, you can conditionally display error messages based on the presence of an error parameter. This reduces the need for excessive scriptlet code. Another best practice in JSP debugging is proper exception handling. Create a custom error page to handle exceptions gracefully. Let's see an example. This page will display the error message without exposing the internal workings or stack traces of your application. Just make sure to configure the web.xml to redirect to your error page. Next, we need to understand how to read stack traces effectively. Stack traces provide important information about the error's cause, including method calls leading up to the error. Look for the first line in the stack trace, which indicates the exception type, and the last section, which shows the location and line number in your JSP where the error occurred. A well-formed stack trace gives you the sequence of function calls that led to the exception. Using this information, you could effectively traverse back through your code to debug the issue. Finally, create and maintain unit tests for your JSP code paths. A good test suite can help catch errors before they reach production. For JSP, use frameworks like JUnit or a specialized library for testing web applications. Running unit tests regularly helps ensure your code changes do not introduce new bugs into your JSP application. To recap, we covered common types of errors in JSP, techniques for debugging like logging, using IDEs, tag libraries, and maintaining good practices like exception handling and unit testing. Remember, effective debugging is more of an art than a science. Embrace a systematic approach and use the tools at your disposal to resolve issues quickly. If you found this tutorial helpful, please consider liking this video, subscribing to my channel, and hitting the bell icon for notifications on future tutorials. Leave a comment below sharing your favorite JSP debugging tip or any questions you may have. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching and happy coding. Until next time.